Hello and welcome to Tiffany's Tiny Things. In today's video, we are making another commission piece. This time it's going to be not one, but two Ahri dolls from the game League of Legends. One classical Ahri and one KDA Ahri. So let's get started. So for both Ahri dolls, I thought it would be fitting to use these Catherine Deneuve heads. But for the bodies, I will use these Ever After High dolls. So let's start with removing these heads that we don't need. So we have just the bodies. As you see, I've already cut off all of their hair, and we are going to remove all the glue and hair from the inside of the heads also. Then we'll just prep the heads for the rerouting. I will remove all of the factory paint from the heads, so we have like this clean base. And I start with painting the scalps in the color the hair will be. So black for the black hair and yellowish for the blonde hair. And when the paint is dry on the heads, I'll start with the tedious task of rerouting both of the heads. And you know the drill, I just plug in all the hair, use a lot of fabric glue inside the head, and then I just repeat this with the blonde head, as you see here. And I just let the glue dry for a few days. And in the meantime, I'll start with the KDA outfit. And as you see, I have this fabric that's really shiny on one side and matte on the other. Yeah, it was kind of tricky to figure out all of the parts and details, but I think I got it in the end. So I just used this white Posca marker to really see what I draw out on the back side. Then I just cut everything out and sew it all together. And for the white details, I use this faux leather fabric. It's mainly for the top part. Here are all the pieces, and I will just sew them together. So here's the top piece ready, and I just need to add the bottom pant part and also one of the legs. And I think that turned out really well. As you see, I added like this sheer fabric pieces on top there, and I just tried out with a shoe, so I know it will fit in a shoe later, and it does, so yay. And here I finished the whole body. Yeah, I just need to attach some Velcro in the back, and I realized I need to leave a little hole for the tail. I will just glue that on because on this type of fabric, I think it's the best way of attaching Velcro, so that's what I did. And here we have both the legs and the bodice piece ready, and now I just have to add all of the little details. So on the top piece there is this purple tiny little line, and it's so small you can't really add any fabric because it would be just too bulky. So I paint it on with acrylic marker. And now I'll start with the sleeves. So there's this lower white part that I just glue together. And then there's a top part that is a gold piece thing. So that I will make out of Warbler. And also some hip pieces that are gold. So I just soften it with a hairdryer. And then I can shape it the way I want. And I thought using a pen for this was kind of clever, but I don't know. Yeah, it's very sticky and it's hard to get it like perfect. Here you see I try it out on the arm and it's good. And I do the same thing with the hip pieces. These are some little details that are on the front of the bodice piece. I quickly realized that the Warbler is not smooth enough, so I used this UV nail polish to kind of smooth out the surface and then paint it gold again after that. And I did the same thing with the shoulder pieces and the little belt buckle thingies. And this is the last layer of gold, so I just let that dry, and then I do the little details in black, and this is just regular acrylics. And then I decided to add one more layer of varnish, glossy varnish. And when everything is dry, I just glue it on with some fabric glue. And yes, I think fabric glue is the best option here because it stays kind of flexible when it dries. And the sleeve pieces I just sew on just for extra safety with a little dab of glue in the end. And then the outfit is finished. And I think these shoes will be the best fit. And here you see the hole for the tail also. And her little necklace that I will attach later. And now we can start with the classical Ahri outfit with her shoes. So I have these Monster High shoes and I just sand them a little bit so that the acrylic paint sticks to the plastic better. I just paint them with some regular Vallejo acrylics. And for the boot part, I thought it was the easiest to make kind of a sock and then work in layers. So I cut out all of these pieces from regular cotton fabric and I just paint on all of the gold details first and the white details on the red. And when it's dry, I just glue all of the pieces together in the right order to make this layered effect that is on her boots. And yeah, it is kind of thick, but we'll just hope for the best and see how it goes. So now that all the glue and paint is dry, I will just sew them together right side in on my sewing machine, just like a sock. And here are the results. And I think it turned out really good, so I'm very happy with that. Here are all her pattern pieces for the dress in paper. So let's just make that into fabric. And here we have all the faux leather fabric pieces. And I'll just sew them together. So here we have the base for the dress. I'll use some fabric glue to glue on all of the little details. And this is just embroidery thread I use for the bottom here. And then I just paint on all of the gold and red details before I attach everything together. And here you see it's the belt part thingy, corset thing, I don't know, the middle part. And here's the sleeves, and I'll just sew them together. And it has this kind of white thingy sticking up on the top. So everything in video games, like the design is kind of impossible in real life, but you know, we'll make it work. And here we have the dress sewn together. And I do the same thing with the sleeves. I just paint on the details here before I attach them. She also has these kind of tassel thingies on her, and I'll just make them out of embroidery thread and some beads. And then I just attach everything together and we have her finished dress, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. So now we can start with the tails. So classical Ahri has these furry tails, and my customer really wanted all of the 9 tails at once. So I figured out I make it out of aluminum wire, make a hole in the back of the doll, and yeah, just figure it out later, I guess. I'll start with putting all of this aluminum together and securing it with some hot glue just to make it really sturdy. Then I figure out the pattern pieces for the fur itself. And I have this white fur I will use. And then start with cutting out all of the 18 pieces of this and sew them together, and it took a while. And here are all of the finished pieces, and they are so soft and cuddly. But before I'll attach them to the wire, I will bulk it out a bit with some leftover yarn. You know what's left after you make yarn wefts. I'll use that and just do it like that and glue it a little bit on there. So it bulks it out and make it a little bit softer. Yeah, kind of like that. So here it is. It looks weird, but it's what I wanted. And now we can attach all of the tails to it. There, nice and easy. I just sew together the top so they are really secure. And for KDA Ahri's tail. So my customer really wanted her crystal tail, but all the 9 tails in crystal. I actually tried printing it in resin on my printer, but the scale of the 9 tails in resin, it was just not possible. So we decided together to make her tail fluffy with fur as well, but with a little bit of difference. I will paint the tips in a rose pinkish color instead to match her kind of vibe, you know. So here's her tail as well. I made it just the same way as classical Ahri, but I will use this soft pastel to paint the tips. And I think it turned out really well. And now it's finally time for the face-ups. We need to match the skin color with the bodies first, and for that I'll use these pan pastels. First I spray a layer of Mr. Super Clear UV Flat so that the pan pastels stick to the plastic. And then I take 1 layer of yellow and spray it with Mr. Super Clear, and then 1 layer of this pinkish tone and spray it with Mr. Super Clear. And it actually turned out a little bit darker, so 1 more layer of white on top of that and seal it in with Mr. Super Clear, and then I think we have a good match. And after that we are ready for the face-up. And I'll start with sketching out the features with a very light gray pencil. And though they are the same character in the game, they do have a little bit different features, different makeup, and my customer really wanted it to show. So the classical Ahri with the black hair will have kind of a harsher, well, not harsher, but a stronger makeup, and the cat eyes as well. My other Ahri, the KDA Ahri, will have a softer kind of a makeup and softer look to her. As I go here, in between every layer, I spray with Mr. Super Clear, and I use darker and darker watercolor pencils to kind of paint out all of her features. And sometimes I use a little bit of water to activate the watercolor pencil, like you see here. And here I mark out where her cheek patterns are going to be, and then I fill them out with the same pencil. I wanted her lips to have kind of this ombre look, so kind of darker at the edges and lighter in the middle. And I wanted her eyeshadow to kind of match the red in her outfit. So here I'm just mapping out all of the red and pinks in her eyeshadow. I go back and forth from different areas of the face. Sometimes I do the eyes and then I go back to the lips and then the eyebrows and so forth. So there's not really a real pattern to it. I just, you know, want to see kind of the whole face come to life at once, if you know what I mean. And when I'm happy with the watercolor pencils, I go in with the acrylic paints just to make the colors even deeper and more saturated. And here I paint in the irises with some yellow and brown and orange to make this kind of golden look, I guess. And then I paint all of the lines around the eyes with a deep brown. And the same thing for the patterns on her cheeks. And I always finish with the darkest colors, the black and dark brown. I usually make the lower eyelashes dark brown and the top ones black. And then I want her to be really glittery, so I use this mica powder to kind of make her face shine. And then I finish everything with some glossy varnish on her lips and eye. And I forgot to film when I painted the catch lights, but yeah, I did with white. So there. And for Ahri, I did kind of the same procedure as for Classic Ahri. Start with the lighter colors and then go in deeper and deeper. But as I said, for her, I wanted a more softer look, a softer makeup, more pink lips. I start here with the pink watercolor pencils and of course Mr. Super Clear in between the layers. And for her, I'm not making the cat eye pupil as for the Classic Ahri, but a human pupil instead. And she has the same patterns on her cheeks as the other one. And for her, I actually used a little bit more soft pastels for her makeup look because, yeah, it gives a softer look. But it's kind of the same principle here, that I start with the lighter colors and then go in deeper and deeper as I go. And of course she needs a little bit of blush on the cheeks. And for the last part I go in with the acrylics, the same as for the other one. And the same thing here, the top lashes are black and the bottom ones are dark brown. And she also gets the glittery mica powder on her face. And of course, I always seal everything with Mr. Super Clear UV Flat. And for the last part, we will gloss her eyes and lips as well with the glossy varnish. And there she's done. And now I can just fix their hair and get them dressed off camera. But I also made this extra resin crystal tail for Ahri because I felt so bad that she wouldn't get her crystal tail, so at least she gets one. I think it turned out so great, it looks so good, and it actually stands by itself because I put it on this little platform. And as you see, it works the same way as the other tails. I just plug it in the hole in the back. Kind of works like a stand for the doll. So now it's time for the beauty shots. Thank you so much for watching till the end of this video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, give it a like, subscribe and push the bell button so you don't miss my upcoming videos. And also a big thank you to my Patreons. If you would like to be one of my Patreons, click at the link in the box below this video. And with that, I'll see you next time.